Thank you to all for being present at at lunchtime. And we are delighted to welcome you at this second session on doing business in France in partnership with the British Embassy, represented here by Luc Sexton, and your expert in France, which is a range of experts, members of the chamber. This week, we will talk about how to develop your exports to France and be compliant with the French market. And we will start with the British Embassy.
Of course, thank you very much, Catherine. Would you like me to give a quick presentation? Of course, no worries. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us and taking time out of your lunchtime to sit with us for the next hour. I really hope that this session is going to be super valuable and useful for everyone. We've put a lot of hard work into this three-part series, and it's tied in very nicely with this slide just here of our Europe Trade Month. This three-part series is part of a wider initiative for the month of November, done by DIT, the Department for International Trade. We are doing a month of activities and events that will hopefully inspire you and give you the tools to trade with Europe, whether that ranges from these sort of how to do businesses in several different markets to more specific, if you're in the agricultural sector, these are the points which, when it comes to trading with Europe, these are the points, these are the conditions that you should be aware of. So I'm really, really glad that we've been able to incorporate the Doing Business with France sessions to the Europe Trade Month. And I think quite a few of our attendees have come via the Europe Trade Month to sit with us today. So that's fantastic. Katrine, would you be able to scroll down just so I can give a quick presentation about myself? Oh, just there we go, that's it. About myself, about the British Embassy here in Paris. And I'll give, after that, I'll give a quick overview, very quick, because today we're here to listen from the experts and how we can kind of develop our sales to France. But my name is Luc Sexton. I'm a trade advisor at the British Embassy in Paris. I've been here for the last 2 years. A lot has changed in those 2 years, notably a global pandemic took place. Please see my contact details and a link to our website here. I just want to say before we kick off that if you have any question regarding any of the topics we discussed today, or you would like to follow up with me on a separate issue, please feel free to reach out to me. Just before we move on to the next slide, I just want to make a quick point about, why are we doing this Doing Business in France webinar? What's the point of it? Why should I be sitting down and listening to us? I think I mentioned I've been here for 2 years and we had a global pandemic, and we've had a new trading relationship established with the European Union and with France. And I think it's now 11 months on since that trading relationship was agreed. And I think we've all come across loads of different questions we've never faced before, or for some of us, this is a completely new sort of field for us. And I think we're trying to, well, we are answering these questions, and we're bringing about a network, the Your Experts in France, for example, network, the relationship with the British Embassy and the Franco-British Chamber. We're bringing about this network to really provide that support and to help commerce between UK and France. And actually, Katrine, if we move on to my next slide, I hope this most recent data will back my points up. The trade between UK and France is extremely important to us, and this is why we are doing these sort of events. This is, I think, the most recent data from ONS, the Office for National Statistics. And really, I don't want to go too much into the data here. because it is quite, there's a lot of numbers. But essentially this is to reinforce two major points that I kind of want to make, or every time I speak with UK companies or French buyers, because it goes both ways. The 2 points I always want to make is firstly about the stigma of trade between UK and France, and what we might see in the news compared to what we experience at a working level. You can see the value of trade is the most recent value of trade between UK and France is £62 billion. That's actually more important for us UK than our total trade with China. It's a massive market for us, and I think there is this weird stigma that we always read about. But I'm hoping that with these webinars and all of us together improving and growing our network across UK and France, we can break down this stigma, or see through the stigma at least. I think there's certain barriers sometimes that we face, and I'm hoping that these webinars and the advice that the experts that we brought together can share with us all in their respective areas of expertise can help us overcome or have sensible conversations, because that's what I'm here for, to have sensible conversations rather than sensationalist conversations. But you can see here that as a market for us, the UK as a market, France is our fifth largest trading partner. It's our fifth largest market, sixth largest market for goods, and our fifth largest market for services. So really important to us, and it supports almost 500,000 jobs in the UK. And I've made the first point about why, you can see here that France is a big market for us. But the second point that I want to make really is about, we've had this global pandemic. Well, it's still ongoing, but it is seeming now with what we can see in front of us, that trade is coming back to, quotation marks, a normal level. Very recently in September, we've had the kind of first lot of trade shows, international trade shows, opening up again in France. We had Maison Objet in September, Nat Expo in October. We've got Santé Expo going on currently in Paris. I've been able to go to all of these events. I've been really lucky to be able to go to all of these trade shows and have these conversations between UK and French business people. And I just want to, hopefully, from this webinar, we can encourage and we can give confidence back to businesses and to French and UK businesses, the confidence to go out there and have face-to-face conversations, because hopefully the time of virtual one-to-one meetings is not coming to an end, but we have the option now to do physical meetings too. Would you be able to move on, Katrine? Thank you. To my next slide. I just wanted to quickly give an overview of DIT, what we do, how we support UK companies, just before we head over to our experts that we've got on board with us today, to give you kind of some context and some background information of where and why we might be of assistance for you guys. So as you can see on the left-hand side here, we have a diagram of the United Kingdom, with all the little red arrows are our sort of offices, or several offices for our international trade advisors across the UK. I've actually seen some of them are online with us, which is great. It's always great to see common faces, familiar faces. And our network of international trade advisors across the UK are our kind of base or starting point in terms of the government, in terms of support that we can provide UK companies. We're currently running such programs as our Export Academy, where if you're a small to medium-sized business, maybe new to export, or you're currently exporting, but you would appreciate the tools and the support and the help to draw up a great export action plan, then please speak with your local Chamber of Commerce, and you can become part of our Export Academy. And currently we're running the Internationalisation Grant, which is a match-funded grant of up to £9,000. It's quite a dynamic grant. It's something that we can draw up with you in conversation with an international trade advisor back in the UK. which may help you attend a trade show abroad, or may help you with your export action plan, may help you translate your website into your target language. So there is the support there that's being provided on the ground back home in the UK. But also coming over to France, I think you can see on the right-hand side there a small diagram. Coming over to France, we're lucky to have trade advisors like myself posted all across the world, all across Europe. Here in France, we have offices in Paris, Bordeaux, Lyon. We're 32 trade advisors here, covering a range of campaigns. And I put here our traditional forms of support that we supply or we provide from France, in addition to what our international trade advisors can offer back home in the UK. But I just want to make the point that these are traditional forms of support. And since COVID, since we've had to adapt, become very dynamic and flexible in the ways of working, I'm very open, personally very open to speaking to any UK company about how they see a good level of assistance and what they might want to gain from us. But this could be, in general, this could be 1 or 2 hours of initial market research. This could be on the ground support at trade shows. You could come meet me in the residence and we can have a coffee. We can do a press release. There's a lot that we can do together. But I think this all starts from some sort of initial conversation and a kickoff conversation. And hopefully this webinar has given us a platform to do that. Hopefully I've just covered a lot of ground very quickly there. But before I pass over to our experts who are going to speak to us about how we can develop our sales to France, I do want to make the point that this 3-part series, which I'm really pleased we've been able to organize, I really want this to be the kind of beginning of breaking down these barriers and speaking with, or making the connection now with experts over here in France, so that we can overcome these or overcome any barriers or any opportunities that we identify. At least now we have somewhere to go, or we have an idea of who to speak to in order to take advantage of these opportunities. So hopefully that segues quite nicely onto the next slide and our next expert. But I just wanted to say thank you very much for everyone attending, and I hope you enjoy.
Thank you, Luc. As rightly Luc said, you have to take into consideration and plan your export to France. And our member, Nick Heder, founder of 83 Consulting, is going to tell you everything about it.
Thank you very much, Catherine. I'm not so sure about everything, but I'll do my best. Our company, 83, works with UK companies looking to find and build new markets in Europe, and our sister company, 423, works with companies going the other way who are targeting the UK market. So since the changes brought about by Brexit, we've been approached by several companies and worked with several companies looking to either change the way they were exporting or to learn how to export under the new regulations. And drawing on what we've learned, we would recommend a 4-step planning methodology for any company looking to get what we might call export ready to France. So what I'd like to do in the next kind of 5 minutes is really step you through those different phases of the planning process. But before I do, I'd like to share with you the story of one of the companies that we've been working with, as I think it kind of helps illustrate the need to have this stepped approach to your planning. Catherine, if you can just pass on to the next slide. So internally, we call this company the chocolate people, and we do that because that's what their business is. They bring chocolate in from France in large slabs. They break it up into smaller weights. They package it, and then they distribute it to restaurants, to gift shops, to coffee shops, etc. in France and actually across Europe. So prior to all of the changes, this was quite a straightforward process: dispatch from the chocolatier in France to them, their processing, and dispatch back to their customers. Straightforward and relatively simple process, unfortunately not anymore. So the first thing that our chocolate friends had to understand is that they're no longer running exactly that simple dispatch process. They, and actually every GB exporter to the EU, are now conducting two processes: an export process out of the GB and an import process into France. And each one of those processes understandably has its own procedures, its own documentation, its own requirements, and each needs to be managed carefully. So as a very simple example from our chocolate friends, it can be clearly demonstrated that the chocolate coming in to them to process is 100% manufactured in France and therefore qualifies under the rules of origin for zero tariffs as it comes in, which is great. But what has transpired in us working with them and doing some research is that the processing they do in the GB, cutting up the slabs, putting it into nice packages, does not unfortunately constitute sufficient processing for those rules of origin to apply going the other way. So they now have to apply an 8% tariff when they export their goods. Other things along the way have changed. They have to put a label and address on, they've had to change their labeling to put an address on there. They actually need to now think about the milk content in the chocolate, because potentially the use of dairy or the amount of dairy in the chocolate makes it a so-called composite product, one using animal composites, and for this they might need a health certificate. I could go on, but hopefully I'm kind of making the point, and the point I'm trying to make is that even straightforward procedures, we're going to package up chocolate and send it out, requires detailed thought and planning, and getting one thing wrong can often mean that a consignment gets stuck. So this is kind of why we advocate this four-step process. Kathleen, if you can just push the button, we'll talk now through those 4 steps in the process. The first one, very simply, is understanding what you want to do, which sounds like a stupid way to start, but what we're talking about here is real attention. It's the foundation of getting everything else right. You need to think through exactly which products you're exporting to exactly which customers in exactly which markets. What that means is you need to analyze your supply chain and work out which products and which commodity codes you're going to be working with, what the rules of origin are for those products, what the product journey is going to be, what looks like being the best route to market. You also have to think about your Incoterms, the commercial terms upon which you will work with your French customers. The more we've looked at this, the more we feel that this is actually a strategic decision for your business. How much of the cost and the overhead of the transactions do you want to take on yourselves, and how much do you want to pass on to your customers? It kind of depends on how much you need that customer, or how much you need that market, or how much they might need your product. Only you will know the right answer or what's right for your business, but those are one of the fundamental considerations that you need to think about when you're doing our step 1, which is, okay, what is it that we're trying to do? Once you've worked through that kind of top level, we get on to step 2, and step 2 is all about the detail. Both exporting from the UK and importing into France, you've got things that you need to think through. The good news is that the other experts on this webinar will take you through all of these areas in detail, but just to cover some of these bases, in general terms, you need to think about things like, are your goods going on pallets or in small consignments in a parcel service? Do you need advice and help on Incoterms? Do you need help completing your export declaration? Does your client in France need help completing the import declarations? Would they need you to supply them, for example, with a valid supplier's declaration so they can comply with rules of origin, et cetera, et cetera? Those are kind of general things that all exporters have to think through. But then you've got the specifics of your product as well, and also the market that you're exporting to. We've already mentioned about our chocolate people that, depending on the amount of dairy in the chocolate, they might need a health certificate. If they do, then they need somebody to be able to manage the traces system and log each consignment on the government systems. You might need to change your labels, as we've said. If you're exporting jam or chocolate, then you're probably okay with just the address of your importer of record. If you're importing more complex products, cosmetics or chemicals or dyes or whatever it might be, you might actually need the address of a product representative in the country, which is another consideration depending on which market you're in. You may, and who you're talking with, as a GB seller, you might require to have a product representative on the ground in France. And then there's some what we kind of call the unknown unknowns almost, that even though the EU market, the single market, is a broadly harmonized market, homogenized market, it's only about 80–85% there. There are sometimes, depending on the product, depending on the market, there are sometimes some specific local regulations that you might have to comply with. So it's important when you're in your stage 2, when you go through the detail, that you list each requirement or need for both export out of the UK and import into France, and that you think about whose responsibility it is to fulfill them and how you're going to go about doing that. As I've said, to be honest, some of these things are very straightforward. They're known knowns. Some of them are questions you know you need to ask, but you don't quite know the answer. And some are things that you might find along the way that you didn't know were even lurking there, some unknown unknowns, which kind of brings us on really to step 3. Step 3 is about bringing together the right roster of suppliers, of service providers, and subject matter experts to help you not only answer the question, the list of questions that you've just worked through in your step 2, but also to actually help you manage when you get into the export process itself. The good news is that the Franco-British Chamber has done a great job ensuring that lots of those people are on this call, and so you'll hear from them shortly. But again, speaking generally, your list might include, you might want to start with a supply chain analyst or a regulatory consultant to help you work through which products are best. You might need help on Incoterms. You might need help coding the commodity codes for your products. You will need a customs agent. You will need a freight forwarder. You will need an importer of record in France. You might need a warehouse. You might need a distributor. You will need a VAT intermediary. Currently, as I've said before, you might need a product representative. You might want feet on the street in France. There's a whole load of people that will make up your team. And the right team for you is going to be dictated by working through that step 1, what's our strategy, and step 2, what is the detail of that strategy. It's highly unlikely that you'll need all of the people I've listed, but I think it's almost impossible that you'll be able to manage this process successfully without bringing a number of them together. So getting the right team together is critical to success as far as we can see. So ultimately, then that brings us on to step 4, and step 4 is management of all of the above. You do, at the planning phase, need to think quite carefully about the resource that you're going to dedicate to this. Both the internal resource, who's got the time, who's got the bandwidth, who's got the capability within your company to oversee all of the big picture, and also who's going to manage the detail, who's going to make sure, if push comes to shove, that right health certificate is being generated for that importer of record in that country for that consignment. We got to be honest, the process here is complex, or it can be complex, and it is constant. And to succeed, we honestly feel that you need to bring all of those steps together into your planning. You start by working through exactly what you want your strategy to be. You have to work through the fine detail, and the earlier you get onto that, the better it's going to be for you. You need to bring together the right subject matter experts to help you tiptoe through the minefield, and then you need to make sure that you've got somebody overseeing that whole process. Being honest, it's not without its challenges, but it definitely can be done. And I think everyone on this call is taking the right steps by doing the research and by being on this webinar. So wish you all good luck with that.
Thank you, Nick. I think it's quite complete. I hope it won't fear people wanting to develop his business in France or in Europe anyway. So now we are going to talk about some key points which has been tackled during Nick's presentation. And we'll start with VAT and AORI. And Philippe, the floor is yours. Philippe, do you hear me? So if Philip is not with us, so I suggest that we go on 4 steps to adapt your approach to the French market with Myriam Collard.
Yes, hello. Thank you. So I'm senior consultant within CXP Hub, and CXP Hub is a consulting and training firm, and we support a large group and SMEs in their so customer experience program and marketing program. So I will just define what we call the 4 steps to adapt your approach to the French market. So if you can move to the next slide, please, Catherine. So the first one being know your market. So to adapt to the French market, you have to keep in mind some of the rising trends, which may also exist in some other countries. So first, the one being about the circular economy. So everything around sustainability that is growing everywhere, and also in France. You have to understand also that the French label, made in France, is something that came back stronger. That's something that you have to keep in mind also. Regarding sustainability, it's important also that you can show proofs against this position. What is very, very, very key, and what there are higher expectations towards a seamless omnichannel experience, meaning that you need to have a real coherency and consistency between your different channels, whether it's online, offline, in store, human interaction, whether it's from customer service or frontline and sales. So this is something that is the sensitivity about it is going very, very stronger now. So in the same topic, digital experience is also very, very growing, very in importance, meaning that you have to have a seamless experience, something that is clear, simple, with not repeated requested information, more and more customized. As regarding what we call the super heroes, customer-facing staff, so especially during COVID time, it grew very high. They're important. Their role was highlighted, but I think that is the same everywhere. And what I also mentioned earlier on, the hyper personalization. So bringing customized service is also something that is growing. So what was mentioned earlier on also, so that you have to do some market research. That means that can be done through different ways. One is something that sometimes is missed, is the behavior observation through ethno-marketing. So observation of your target people, target customers. You learn a lot from this. You can do also different surveys to understand the key drivers of satisfaction from your targeted customers. So recently we've worked, for instance, for an industrial company towards understanding better their specialized distributors. We can also, there can also be done some benchmarks of comparable industries through understanding their route markets, their sites, the services, doing some online research. So all about market research is something that is the key first step you have to do. Then if you go into more detail, to adjust, to get into this market, you need to adjust your services to the French markets. And to do so, you should review your customer journey with regard to the French market. That means understanding the different interaction that exists between that could exist between your offer, between the customer and everything that is everything that you have in interaction with. So that means online, offline, and what you have in terms of existing services in French.
Bonjour, puis-je avoir Anatole, s'il vous plaît?
Philippe, tu es en plein dans la session là. Tu peux laisser Myriam finaliser. Myriam, please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, regarding customer journeys or with regard to the French market, so there are the different interactions you should look at. So everything that all the interaction, whether it's in online, offline, whether it's from the digital part, the physical part, also the delivery, and everything that is to be seen with a different eye, and to understand the local distribution habits as well. That means that you have to also to review your online services, whether it's website, app, with a user experience evaluation. And you can organize some focus groups, I mean, group of people, potential customers, stakeholders, that could react to your offer, means in terms of product and services, and all the interaction they have with your brand. And also, for sure, when we're talking about customer service, and ideally based in France, and also with French native people. And we have, regarding what is very important with the delivery, that has to be with an excellent local customer service. And that's something that you should keep in mind. You have, in the UK, you have a very high level of customer culture or service culture. And that's something that you can differentiate with, and you can bring this mindset to France. The trust you have in customer, the politeness and the patience, that is something that can be a good asset for you. And the people from sales or customer service should be trained. And what we can say in France, what they love is they are used to role plays. They like long trainings with something like minimum half day, usually in class, but more and more, you know, we're doing some hybrid mode, and both in class and online. And they tend to be very participative, and they take this opportunity also to socialize. So that's quite an important aspect also. And regarding the delivery and supply chain and logistics, it's quite a high level in France. So there is a quite high expectation regarding the standards of delivery here. Can move to the next slide, please. So, and last but not least, you should check, once you've started your first sale, you should check the satisfaction of your first clients. So by interviewing, doing some open discussion with them, and so to be able to react and adapt if necessary. And on our side, we are used to doing this. So we are partners of some platforms, so feedback management platform, tools, and all over as a whole, we can help you in the different, all this process to be able to adapt, prepare and adapt to the French market. We can, as a summary here, we can make some market studies, do some insight management, carry some customer journey mapping, which we would strongly believe is very important. Build some desirable experience for your offer, for your customer. Improve the customer service, bring the learning capabilities, and also develop or bring together digital solutions to improve customer experience. So as a summary, we can help you on those all those aspects. We are so Franco-British company. We are both based in London, Paris, and now in new other countries like Russia. And we do consulting, training, and digital solution for SMEs as large groups. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. Philippe has arrived, so I'm going to come back to his presentation. And Philippe, now it's your...
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for the delay. As Luc just mentioned, in 2019, around 13,018 UK VAT registered business exported goods in France. That means a big part should have a French VAT number. The value added tax is the biggest tax in France. A UK company can have a French VAT number or a European VAT number with an accredited tax representative. In most of the case, this is compulsory. With this VAT number, it would be possible to have an economic operator registration and identification number, EORI. It would be compulsory for the custom formalities. Important point, the tax representative has a solidarity in France with its foreign customer for debt and penalties. So, on the left of the slide, UK company with a French VAT number will be able to have a French or European supplier to store in France and to sell to European or French supplier on B2B and B2C basis. On the right, it will be also possible to sell the product outside the UK, outside the European Union, or bring back the goods to the UK. Next slide, please. Yes. But for most of the UK company, they would like to sell the good in France, so it can be stored in France and be sold in France or in Europe on B2B or B2C basis. It's also possible for a UK company to buy the goods outside of European Union, for example, in China, in Japan, bring all the goods in France in a storage and sell those goods in France or in Europe. It's also possible for the middle, for the draw in the middle, it's also possible to have a storage and sell the goods outside of the European Union, like for example, in the United States. All these examples are possible if you have a VAT number. And on the right, a UK company with a French VAT number, for example, can buy some goods in China, have a big storage in France, and sell the good in France, in Europe, or in Morocco or Brazil, for example. This example is typical for e-commerce activities. This is compulsory to have a VAT number. For UK company, with the Brexit, it will be most of the time compulsory to have a European VAT number. The fiscal and custom rules are complex. The compliance is one of the top objectives. The Brexit has increased a lot of formalities for the UK company. A UK company may need a French or VAT number for its commercial activity in France or in Europe with no fixed establishment. That's very important. There is no fixed establishment. The tax and especially the VAT compliance are major issue for the UK company. don't forget, if you are at the beginning of your project, please contact a tax representative, a freight forwarder, or international carrier with office in France and in UK. It will be much more efficient to be your partner for your business and for your project. Thank you.
Thanks, Philippe. So now we have been through VAT and talk about transport and customs. So Loic, would you like to let us know more about transport and customs?
Yes, I will try. First, Group Stern is a group specialized in transport, and we are also a custom representative. This means we are custom broker for all Europe. And I will explain you in a very short words how to make the custom in France. First, the custom declaration is mandatory in France and all over Europe. Now, since Brexit, UK is outside Europe. That means we need to make more steps. It must include the essential characteristic of your goods. That means the type, what they are, is the definition, the origins. That's probably the more difficult today. Now, where are they produced? That's mean in UK, but this could be also in China or in Japan, doesn't matter. And the value, because we use the value for the custom duties and they're applied on the goods who are coming back or arrive in Europe. For both operation, import and export, the good will pass through custom twice. That means one before leaving and one when they're entering in the territory in France or territory of Europe, because the first point was the more important. You manufacture and you transport it to Dover. Before leaving, you make a declaration to the HMRC. When it arrives in France, you make the representation to the French custom. That means douane française. And if everything was ready and okay, the good could be delivered to the customer. To work with the custom in France, you must use the custom representative or the custom broker. We'll go to the next one. Road transport is in France. All the transport of goods are dominated by roads. More than 2 billion goods are transported every year. And it's probably the more practical in France. Main point of crossing between France and UK are in the channel for ferry or with a road tunnel. Your carrier, your transport company in UK could make the delivery directly in France without any problem. If they can come in Europe, they will come to France and they will make the delivery. Don't be afraid about that. In France, your custom broker will transmit all the information to the douane française, and for this custom declaration, your agent must have the following elements: the commercial invoice with the basics information about the transaction. That means the HS code. This is an international code. It permits to identify the product categories and the definition of your product. You could call directly your custom broker. He will help you. Your invoice number, the identity, your identity, the quantity and the price of the product, the origin of the product, and sometimes we need a certificate of origin if it's outside UK or if it's only made in a part in UK. You need to contact the HMRC, who will help you to give you these documents. That's not the work and the job of the custom representative to find it for you. The destination of the goods, the address, the person for the reception, and as Nick said, the Incoterm. The Incoterm was really important because with the Incoterm, we will know who paid the taxes, we'll pay the VAT, and the EORI numbers of the sender and the receiver. Please remember, now France and Europe is, or in fact, UK is outside Europe, and you need sometimes the certificate of conformity. And it's not the role of your custom broker to do it. You need it directly when you arrive in France because it will be controlled. It's mandatory and it will be controlled by the custom, by the douane française. And that's all for me.
Thanks, Loic. So once you transport, you need to have a warehouse, as to stock your goods to deliver to EU or Europe. So I will let Marie-Christine, Alvin, and Sébastien to tell us more about it. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me introduce myself, Sébastien Kern, Chief Development Officer at Andin Group. First, I would like to thank the Franco-British Chamber and essentially Catherine for giving us this opportunity to present your group and explain more about the French law applicable to warehouses. In a nutshell, Andin Group is a consultancy firm founded in 2003, specializing in study, realization, and support of logistic businesses. Our organization is built around 3 areas of activity: safety and environment, construction development, and property management. Our solution designed for our clients enable us to meet all your needs, from investment to regularity studies, compliance work, and property management. Let me propose you to focus on the environmental regulation and its application in France through the classified installation named ICPE. To discover how Andin Group can support you to comply with this, let's move forward with Marie-Christine and Alvin.
Thank you, Sébastien. Thank you, everyone. So to continue, indeed, in France, the acquisition or the operation of a warehouse is subject to a series of regulations required by the Environmental Code, which groups all the laws, decrees, and regulation in this area. Since 2000, the text has become a reference and has laid down the main principles of modern ecological policy. 7 books define the measures applicable in France to preserve the environment and the biodiversity. Book 5 of the code introduces the notion of ICPE, which defines the general provisions which apply to factories, workshops, building sites, and in general, any installation held or operate that are able to cause harm and represent a danger for people, nature, health, safety, and environment. Requirements in terms of fire safety have led to the constant evolution of regulations in order to integrate feedback from accidents that have occurred. Recent examples include the Le Brussels fire in France, which resulted in the evolution and updating of general prescription of April 11th, 2017 decree, amending ICPE regulations applicable to combustible material warehouses decree of September 2020, effective since this year, January 2021. ICPE nomenclature concerning logistics is divided into several headings. The main one is the 1510, concerns combustible products or materials, include headings 2910, like a boiler or generator, 2925 load room, and 4000 hazardous products. The administrative context will determine the legal, technical, and financial framework in which the installation can be created or can continue to operate. The classification system is therefore the determining criterion for the effective application of the law. Administratively, ministries set general prescription orders and prefectures frame them to measure. The main regimes are like the authorization, the registration, and the declaration forms. So now you will see what Andin Group proposes as solution to accompany you with Alvin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marie-Christine. Now I will present to you Andin Group solution to accompany you. So in this visibility or perspective, as ICPE expert, we propose among our solution those which allow you to have a clear vision on the constraints, the cost, the needs, the compliance work, building remodeling, maintenance. This is our due diligence solution, which involves the realization of technical, real estate, regulatory, and environmental audits. Wise interlocutor and reference to the administration authorities, particularly prefectural ones, we also propose ICPE representation. In other words, we act on your behalf, carrying therefore criminal and civil liability of operating your asset in accordance with the regulation. In this mission, we ensure daily follow-up, management and maintenance of the administrative title through audits, visits, follow-up, and various action plan. To take our support approach even further, we have set up a unique digital solution for the security of your asset. This tool, SafeOne, provides you, investor, owner, or user, with concrete answer to regulatory changes, inventory visibility, and innovative technological solution. Our partnerships guarantee you support and global monitoring for all ICPE issues and much more. And in Group, through its 360 degrees offer, is more than a partner. It's the solution for the development of your logistic and tertiary assets. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. So we are coming to the end. So willing to develop your business in France? Need a single point of contact for all your business issues, or we are your solution in France? Your expert in France, British Embassy and Franco-British Chamber. Is there any questions? Ask someone a question. You can, otherwise, if you don't want to ask the question, you can go through the chat. I can hear someone, but so Luc, have you got something to add?
Yes, thank you, Catherine. No worries. I'm sure we're always, all of us, always ready and available to ask us any questions when you might want to. Yeah, please feel free to reach out to myself, to the Franco-British Chamber. I would just finish on a note, just enforcing the point, use this network or use your network, which you might have. I think together with the right communication, speaking with the right people, learning from or sharing best practice is the best way to kind of minimize this risk, but kind of efficiently and effectively increase your sales. At the end of the day, growing your commercial or developing your commercial ability in France or in the UK as well is what we're here to help you do. But I just wanted to say thank you very much for everyone attending, and thank you to our experts and to Catherine and the Chamber for organising and helping put on this webinar.
It's our pleasure. Just want to say there will be a third session on the 24th of November on immigration, social, all the human resources, immigration, and all what you should know about work expats and everything, work coming and work to France. So it will be at the same time, so 1 o'clock for French people, so 12 for British people. Valentine will send you the PowerPoint presentation, and we have registered, so you will be able to watch again the video on our website, and it will be also on social media. So don't hesitate to share it with people who would like to develop their business in France. Thank you all. If there is no question, I think it is 2, so right in time. Thank you all for being present, and hope to see you on the 24th.